The highway stretched endlessly before Jenna, a serpent of cracked asphalt swallowed by the dense pine forests of northern Montana. Her hands gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles whitened, the hum of her old Honda's engine the only sound in the eerie silence. She'd been driving for 9 hours straight, fleeing the jagged memories of a life she could no longer bear, a boyfriend whose fists spoke louder than his apologies, a cramped apartment that reeked of stale beer and dread. The road was supposed to be her salvation. But as the last sliver of sunlight dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and grays, Jenna felt the first icy trickle of unease. The gaslight had blinked on 10 miles back. The station appeared like a mirage, a lone, flickering neon sign reading Roy's Pit Stop, buzzing weakly against the gathering dark. The building was a relic of the 70s, its paint peeling like sunburnt skin, the windows boarded up except for a single square of grimy glass near the entrance. Jenna pulled up to the rusted pump, her headlights cutting through the thick haze of moths swirling in the damp air. The smell hit her first, a nauseating cocktail of gasoline and something sweetly rotten, like forgotten fruit left to ferment. She hesitated, glancing at the shadowed tree line. The forest here felt watchful. She stepped out, the crunch of gravel beneath her boots unnaturally loud. A flicker of movement in her periphery, a figure, made her whirl around, heart slamming against her ribs. Nothing, just the skeletal branches swaying in the wind. Shaking her head, she grabbed the gas nozzle, her breath visible in the sudden chill. That's when she saw him. A man leaned against a black pickup truck 2 pumps over, his face obscured by a baseball cap, his posture unnervingly still. Jenna's throat tightened. He wasn't there a second ago. Forcing herself not to stare, she focused on the pump's screeching dials. The numbers climbed too slowly. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, but the next town was 50 miles away. She'd never make it. Swallowing hard, she hurried inside to prepay, the bell above the door jingling like a funeral dirge. The store was a time capsule. Faded chip bags lined dusty shelves. A single fluorescent light buzzed like a dying insect. No cashier. Jenna's boots stuck to the floor with every step, the air thick with the tang of motor oil and mildew. "Hello," she called, her voice swallowed by the silence. The backroom door hung ajar, darkness pooling beyond it. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. A floorboard creaked behind her. She spun around. The man from the pump stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the neon sign. His face was gaunt, eyes sunken and glittering like chips of obsidian. He smiled, revealing yellowed teeth. "Need help?" he drawled, stepping inside. Jenna backed toward the counter, her hip bumping a rack of keychains that clattered like bones. "Just paying for gas," she said too brightly. Her fingers fumbled for her wallet, but the man was already circling the aisle, trailing a finger along the shelves. "Long way from anywhere," he said, his voice a gravelly whisper. "You ought to be careful. Folks go missing out here." Her breath hitched. She tossed a $20 bill on the counter and bolted for the door, but he moved faster, blocking her path. Up close, she caught the stench of him, sour sweat and something metallic. His hand shot out, grasping her wrist. "Where you headed, darlin'?" Jenna yanked free, adrenaline scorching through her veins. "Don't touch me!" She ducked past him, bursting outside into the suffocating dark. The Honda was only 20 feet away. 20 feet. She sprinted, keys jangling in her trembling hand. The driver's side door was already open. A figure sat inside, face shadowed, hands on the wheel. Jenna froze. No. Behind her, the man from the store laughed, low and guttural. "Ain't you gonna thank me for the gas?" She didn't think, she ran. The forest swallowed her whole, branches clawing at her face, her lungs burning as she stumbled through the underbrush. Distant laughter echoed behind her. She didn't dare look back. Moonlight filtered through the trees, painting the ground in fractured silver, and for one delirious moment she thought she might escape. A hand clamped over her mouth, yanking her behind a tree. "Shh!" a voice hissed in her ear. Female. Jenna thrashed, but the woman, mid-30s, wild-eyed, her flannel shirt smeared with dirt, tightened her grip. "You want to die? Listen, there's two of them. They've got a system. One lures you, the other traps you. They took my husband an hour ago." Jenna's tears soaked the woman's palm. She nodded, and the stranger released her, pointing to a dilapidated shed half buried in ivy. "Hide there, I'll draw them off." The shed stank of mold and rusted metal. Jenna crouched behind a stack of rotting tires, her phone trembling in her hand. No signal. Minutes crawled by, then footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. A flashlight beam sliced through the cracks in the walls. Jenna pressed a hand to her mouth, choking back a sob. The door creaked open. "Found you," the man from the gas station whispered. Jenna exploded into motion, scrambling past him, his nails raking her arm as she fled. She didn't stop, didn't breathe, until she burst onto a narrow road. Headlights approached, a semi-truck. She waved frantically, collapsing to her knees as it screeched to a halt. The driver, a burly man with a beard, leaned out. "You okay?" "They're after me, please." "Get in," he said. The smell of coffee and diesel fuel wrapping around her like a shield. The driver glanced in his mirrors. Seatbelt, now. As the truck accelerated, Jenna sagged against the seat, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought—" The driver's hand closed over hers. His grip was vice-tight. "You thought wrong," he said softly, nodding to the walkie-talkie crackling on the dash. A familiar voice rasped through the static. "You get her, Roy." The man from the gas station chuckled. "Oh, I got her." Jenna's scream died as the needle plunged into her neck. She woke in darkness, her head throbbing, the stench of gasoline and blood thick in the air. Concrete floor, metal walls, a shipping container. Across from her, the wild-eyed woman from the woods lay motionless, a jagged wound splitting her throat. Jenna's wrists were bound with zip ties, her ankles raw from kicking. Voices outside. "Gotta move her before dawn. Cops will be sniffing around after that trucker called in a disturbance." "What about the husband?" "Dump him with the others." Jenna's mind raced. The trucker had saved her, hadn't he? Unless the call was a setup. Her stomach lurched. She'd heard the voice on the walkie-talkie, but what if the real police were coming? False hope is a knife, she thought, biting back hysteria. A sliver of light appeared as the container door cracked open. Jenna played dead, her breath shallow. Boots clanged against metal. "This one's still out," the man Roy grunted. "Check her pulse." Jenna waited until his fingers grazed her neck. Then she struck, sinking her teeth into his hand. He howled, recoiling, and she rolled, scrambling past him through the door. Dawn's first light blinded her. She was at the gas station again, the semi-truck idling nearby. The shipping container was hidden behind the store. She ran, zigzagging through the trees, Roy's enraged screams fueling her. A gunshot rang out. Birds erupted from the branches above. Jenna's side blazed where a bullet grazed her, but she didn't stop. The highway, she could see it through the trees. A car approached. Jenna stumbled into the road, waving her arms. The sedan swerved, braking hard. A middle-aged couple stared at her, horrified. "Help me," Jenna croaked, collapsing against their hood. "Please." The woman dialed 911, her voice shaking. Jenna huddled in the back seat, watching the forest recede in the rearview mirror. Roy's truck sat abandoned at the gas station. But as the car sped toward the hospital, the driver's eyes flicked to hers in the mirror. "You're safe now," he said. His wife's hand tightened on his arm. She watched the road ahead, every shadow now a threat, every stranger's kindness a lie. The fear had burrowed into her bones. It would never leave. At the hospital, wrapped in a thin blanket and trembling beneath the sterile white lights, Jenna sat on the edge of the bed as two detectives stepped into the room. Their uniforms were smudged with dirt, their faces pale and drawn. One of them, an older man with tired eyes, pulled up a chair and sat across from her. "We believe you," he said quietly, his voice heavy. "We just came back from the site. That gas station and the cabin, they're connected. We've found remains, multiple victims. It's a dump site." Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The detective looked at her with something deeper than pity, something closer to horror. "This wasn't just some random creep. He's done this before. We think for years. You're the first one who got away." The words settled into her like ice, and for a long moment she couldn't speak. The other officer added, "If you hadn't gotten out when you did, Jenna, you were lucky. You were the one who broke the pattern. You survived something that no one else has." Jenna stared at them, her vision blurring. Lucky, that's what they called it. But all she could hear was the faint, slow whistle in the back of her mind, and she knew it would never really stop. If you enjoyed Jenna's harrowing escape, don't forget to subscribe for more true horror stories that will make you think twice about stopping in the middle of nowhere. And remember, not every gas station is just a gas station, and not every driver who offers you help wants you to make it home. Until next time, stay safe, and if the air grows cold and still, it's because something is watching.